Hello and welcome, Pokemon fans. There are those who call me Bard Breaker, and it's time for another Sunday Pokemon Challenge run. Last week, we went back to our roots and played through Gen 1 Kanto with just a Shellder, and that was a pretty quick run. Let's stay in Kanto, change generations, and try out my fiance's favorite Pokemon. Today we ask and answer the question, can I beat Leaf Green with only a Shedinja? Shedinja is a dual ghost bug type introduced in the Hoenn games of Generation 3. We have a base stat total of 236, which isn't shared by any other Pokemon, but it does put us 4 points lower than Pokemon like Roly-Poly, Whismur, and Zigzagoon. Our attack stat is awesome, but our HP stat is all full. We have 1 HP for the entire run. But that's Shedinja's gimmick. It has an ability called Wonder Guard that I'll get into in a bit that goes with that. Moveset wise, we start with Scratch and Leech Life, which is decent enough, I guess. Harden's going to be useless, but we do get Sand Attack early. Otherwise, our only really good moves don't come until we reach our 30s and learn Confuse Ray and Shadow Ball. By TM, we can learn some decent stuff though. We get moves like Dig, Giga Drain, Aerial Ace, Return. Those all stand out as potential options for me, so we have some decent type coverage and options for sure. At this point though, like always, I remind you guys that I write the script as I go with the challenge, and at this point I haven't started playing yet. Everyone take your guesses down below to please the almighty algorithm, god of the YouTube algorithm, and let me know if you think I can do this or not. I'm gonna say it's possible, but we're really gonna have to be mindful of Wonder Guard gimmick, and I'll explain that in a bit. With that, let's take a final look at the rules. In battle, I can only use Shedinja. I'll need other utility Pokemon for HMs, but I won't be allowed to use those Pokemon in battle. I also won't be using any items in battle. Held items and items outside of battle will be allowed though. And lastly, I won't be using any cheats, glitches, or exploits, aside from replacing what would be our starter with Shedinja, so let's do it. So as usual, I've used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Bulbasaur with Shedinja so we can do the entire run with it. I chose to replace Bulbasaur so that our rival will take Charmander, which will be the hardest for us to fight against. I nickname our Shedinja One-Shot, because that's what my fiance wanted, and to be honest, we're gonna have to one-shot pretty much anything that we're weak to. Our nature is jolly, so we get more speed at the expense of special attack. I'm actually totally fine with that. Almost all of our moves that we're going to be using are going to be physical attack, so losing special attack doesn't hurt us at all, and if we can get a speed boost, all the better. Our ability is Wonder Guard, so as we're battling this Charmander, let me explain it. Wonder Guard makes us immune to any damaging attack that is not super effective against us. So the only attacking moves that can hit us are Dark, Ghost, Fire, Rock, and Flying. We're okay in this fight against the Charmander because it doesn't have any fire moves yet, but in later battles we're going to have to rely on accuracy issues or just brute force one-shotting fights to get us past anything that we're weak to. Since all Charmander can do here to knock us out is growl at us, we scratch it down to victory. At this point we have to take care of our usual pre-adventure fetch quest, and once Package Delivery Simulator is out of the way, our adventure can begin. Now at this point we're going to have to grind up quite a bit to deal with Brock. You'll recall that Rock is one of the few types that can actually hit us, and the only moves we have for him won't be hitting very hard. We're going to need to overlevel pretty hard here. Grinding on Pokemon is not going to be easy and mindless either. We're going to have to watch out for Pidgey and Spearow as they can one-shot us with stuff like Gust or Peck. We also don't want to fight any Caterpie, Weedle, Metapod, or Kakuna as they all give EVs to our HP and defense stats, which are going to be useless for this run. Saying of which, that means I won't actually have to waste money buying potions this time. That's nice at least. Our best bet for grinding pre-Brock are these Mankey, which fortunately appear 45% of the time on Route 22 west of Viridian City. They offer up attack EVs, which will help push our attack stat in the upwards direction that it needs to go. Rattatas are okay here too, as they'll boost our speed EVs without being able to knock us out like a Pidgey would. Attack and speed are about the only two stats we need to care about, so this works great. What you're watching now is several minutes of this grind sped up. It's going to take me a long time before I get to a point that's worth it, so let's just go ahead and see where we are here in a bit. While spending time in this grass patch grinding up, I stop and catch one of the Mankeys for strength later, nicknaming it Bisepticus the 36th, long may he lift, and after a fair bit of grinding, I make an attempt at level 16 against Brock just to see where we stand. Brock is smarter than I'm used to seeing him here, as he immediately swaps into his Onix because it knows Rock Tomb and that can one-shot us. After a couple of attempts, we're just going to have to go grind some more. And grinding here is as annoying as you'd expect. Level 3 to 5 Rattata and Mankey don't offer a ton of experience, so it's going to take some time to level up. But along the way I make a risky play to catch a Spearow for Fly later, nicknaming it Flapsity the 36th. Long may she fly, and at level 22 I accidentally stumble into the rival fight west of town. Fortunately though, we're massively overleveled at this point and we one-shot Scratch's team down. At level 25 I go back to Brock and try the fight again just to see if we're shaking up any better. Geodude is out first, but he doesn't hang around long, so we go for Sand Attack knowing Brock is going to swap into his Onix. From there we start in with Leech Life as it's our best attack against his team. He's going to keep using Rock Tomb, which is already only 80% accurate in this generation to begin with, and Sand Attack is going to bring his accuracy down even further. So we finally get a run where the Onix misses Rock Tomb several times in a row, which allows us to Leech Life it down. After that, Geodude is back out for an encore, but it can't hurt us as it only has normal type attacks, so we're free to Leech Life it down into the ground no matter how long it takes. Finally, after several episodes of Designated Survivors worth of grinding on Netflix, we're able to get past Brock and our first gym badge is finally in hand. Moving along ahead, the route after Pewter City really isn't any obstacle here given how high over level we are. Once we get into Mount Moon, I stop and catch a Paris for Cut later, nicknaming it Snipticus the 36th. Long may she cut. And at this point, I want to take a moment to talk about a personal development outside of the channel for me. If you want to skip this little fireside chat, I guess we'll call it, you should see a timestamp that future me is putting on the screen now. For those of you who are remaining, I want to take this moment to let you guys know that I'm being promoted to store manager at my company. This is an exciting opportunity for me and one that I've been working nearly 10 years to get. One of the first questions my fiance asked was, will you be able to continue your YouTube channel? And the answer is a tentative yes. Based on how my current manager schedules himself, I should still have 2 days off work each week, and I should honestly only have to work a few extra hours more than I already do. That being said, my off days are going to change from what they currently are since I'm going to have to deal with product that we get on specific days that right now I don't normally work. So with that being said, in all likelihood, my upload date is probably going to change. I haven't thought about what day that's going to be yet. We're going to see what happens. It's still not going to happen for a couple weeks. And with the holidays coming up, I may have to work extra hours, to be honest. But I'm also not sure how that's going to look because I'm pretty sure they're not extending our holiday hours like they have in years past. I will of course be keeping you all abreast of scheduling developments as far as I know, but for right now I intend to continue the channel as it is, at least one video a week moving forward. Again, that may not always happen, but I'm gonna give it the old college try. One of the main reasons I started this YouTube channel is at some point I'd like to be able to make enough money doing YouTube to just do YouTube. I don't need JonTron or Game Grumps or PewDiePie levels of money, but those of you who are Hardleg gaming fans and know me from there know that Hardleg Joe makes a decent amount of money to live on between his Patreon donations and his ad revenue, so hopefully one day I can get to that point too. Until that point though, it's going to be a balancing act between YouTube and work, and obviously work has to take the priority. But going into this transition, I'm hopeful that at this point in the planning stages, I'll be able to continue the channel as normal. Feel free to follow me on the Discord server and keep an eye on the community tab for the channel that I'm trying to be more active on to keep abreast of any future developments. Now with that announcement out of the way, let's get back to your regularly scheduled programming. Now that we've made our way through Mount Moon, we take the Helix Fossil, ask me anyway, and we make our way into Cerulean City where we take a crack at Misty in the water gym. But we honestly don't have any worries though. She can't hit us thanks to Wonder Guard, so it's just a matter of time before we can scratch down her stars and win our second badge. From there we make our way to Nugget Bridge and have our next showdown with Tim. And unfortunately we don't have a lot of luck. I can't one-shot the Pidgeotto or the Charmander, who are both out first and both one-shot us. Alright, let's try something else. And so it turns out that I actually can't get the TM for Dig yet until I get the SS ticket from Bill, so I just have to level up. At level 30 I take another crack, and it still takes a few attempts against Tim, but I finally get a run where we get past Pidgeotto with a critical hit scratch. Out next is Charmander, and we're strong enough to one-shot it with a regular scratch now. After that it's also a one-shot sweep through Abra and Rattata, and now we can finally make some progress across this bridge. Once we make our way through the trainers, we fight our way to Bill, local computer scientist and man a little too obsessed with Pokemon. And we make our way south of town and round up the 5 members of the Kleptosius Meowth Brigade for their pickup ability. Pickup is an ability that gives each Meowth a 10% chance to pick up and hold an item each time we knock out a Pokemon. Most of the items won't be very helpful since it's going to be a lot of berries, but we will have small chances to pick up rare candies, nuggets, PP ups, and the TM for hidden power. I can't use these Meowth in battle, but their pickup ability will save time on this run. From there we make our way straight down to Vermilion City and we take a shot at the rival in the SS Am. Takes a few attempts to get right, but eventually we get a run where we confuse the Pidgeotto, it hits itself, and we bring it down with a scratch. Charmeleon is next and we bring it down with a single dig. Out next is Kadabra, who goes down to a scratch, as does the Raticate, and we finally check the next box on our list. Speaking of next on our list, it's Lieutenant Surge, and though we take about a dozen attempts to get his trash can jamboree right, we finally get past them and Lieutenant Surge gets scratched down just as quickly as he begins thanks to Wonder Guard. There's really not going to be a lot to recap in these battles if they can't hit us. East of town, I catch a Drowsy for Flash later, nicknaming it Flashelius the 36th, long may he shine, and proceed to Rock Tunnel. While moving through Rock Tunnel, one of our Meowths finally picks up the TM for Hidden Power. I doubt we're going to use it, our moveset is really coming together here, but let's give it a whirl and see what happens. Go ahead and take your guesses down below for what you think our Hidden Power type is. Here's your scorecard, let's go ahead and play. So our first encounter is a Zubat, and we get an immediate super effective result. Well, that narrows the field down quite a bit as it leaves us only Ice, Electric, Rock, and Psychic in play. That was a fast round. Next up is a Geodude, and we get a not very effective result, which instantly tells us that our Hidden Power is the Rock type. That's actually pretty useful. It's going to hit based on our physical attack in this gen, so if we need it, we have a decent physical stat to back it up. But for now, I reset back to before the test and press on. Pokemon. Once we arrive in Celadon City, we take an immediate crack at Erica in the grass gym, and because she can't touch us thanks to Wonder Guard, she's a quick sweep with Shadow Ball. You know who's not a quick sweep though? Giovanni for a change. We have to take half a dozen or so attempts at this, namely because Kangaskhan has Bite and we can't one-shot it. Eventually I get a run where after we one-shot the Honest with Shadow Ball, we confuse Kangaskhan and finally get it to hit itself before we can bring it down with a couple of returns. After that, I one-shot the Rhyhorn with a Shadow Ball and run Team Rocket out of Celadon City, or at least to the next town over. In any case, I get the Sylph Scope for my trouble and proceed on. Tower Tim is next on the list as we make our way back to Lavender Town. At this point though, he's a one-shot sweep with our variety of Shadow Ball, Dig, and Return. A quick climb through the rest of the spooky, scary Skeletower, and we rescue Mr. Fuji and collect the Pokeflute. Once we wake up the sweeping behemoth blocking our path down to Fuchsia, we bike our way to the Poison Gym, led by Fuchsia City Gym Leader, and man definitely not plotting how much cyanide to put in your oatmeal, Koga. And believe it or not, he takes several attempts. We can pretty much one-shot our way to his wheezing, but it keeps hitting us with Toxic over and over, which brings us down since we can't one-shot the wheezing. Our best option is to get a run where we can one-shot it with a critical hit, which we eventually do get after many failed attempts to secure our next badge. We then take a crack at the game show Safari Market Sweep to pick up our HMs for Surf and Strength, and after performing some unlicensed dental work by shoving the gold teeth back in the Warden's mouth, we can proceed on our adventure, and our next stop in the tour is Sabrina and the Saffron City Gym. Or at least it would, but I have to clear out Giovanni out of Silphco. And unfortunately we're having a bad run against rival Fievel, who we have to face before that. We can get past his Pidgeot, but then we have to either damage range the Gyarados or hope it chooses not to use Bite. Charizard is after that, and that's not going to help us much either. So rather than just power leveling at this point, I decide to actually go back to Lavender Tower, spend some time looking for Haunter. On the top floor of the tower, they spawn at a 15% rate, so not great, but it's the best we've got. I'm hunting Haunter for the chance at a Spell Tag. It's a held item that will boost Ghost-type moves by 10%, which might be just enough to push our Shadow Ball over the line and get us where we want to be. At this point, I've replaced Confuse Ray with the TM for Thief so that we can steal their item if they're holding one. I can always relearn Confuse Ray with a move reminder later. Unfortunately, it's slow going since we only one-shot about half the Haunters, and then they can knock us out with moves like Nightshade. Eventually, after about 45 minutes to an hour of jerking around here in the tower, I finally find a Haunter that's holding a spell tag and then can return to Silphco. And unfortunately, even at level 63 with the boosted Shadow Ball, I still can't one-shot the Charizard. We're just gonna have to level up a bit, I guess. Let's go try Cinnabar Island instead. But before I can get there, I need something for Surf, so I go steal this guy's Eevee to evolve into Vaporeon later, nicknaming it Aquades the 36th, Long May He Swim. Once I surf down to Cinnabar Island, I have myself a good old-fashioned scavenger hunt through the Pokemon Mansion and get myself Blaine's keys to get into his gym. Once we get into the gym, we have to take a few cracks at Blaine. Remember, Fire is one of the few types that can actually hit us. On our winning run, we managed to get a one-shot sweep with Shadow Ball, but unfortunately it takes a run where we finally have to land a critical hit on the Arcanine due to being hit with 2 Intimidates along the way. Eventually though, we land the critical hit we need, and that ends the fight and secures our next badge. Shedinja is pretty much a one-shot Pokemon. You either one-shot them or you get one-shot yourself. There's really no in-between. At level 68, I return to Silphco to take on the rival fight again, and unlike previous attempts, we one-shot his entire team. I was actually curious how well I'd do against the Charizard at this point, but we actually got a critical hit on our first attempt here, so after defeating Blaine, I'm really not sure how we would have done, but you know what, I'll take this. Giovanni is right around the corner, and we're not in a very difficult way here. He's not very difficult except for his Poison Point ability, which will knock us out if it's not the last Pokemon that we faint. Fortunately, I get a run after a few attempts where Poison Point doesn't kick in and we bring down his entire team and run Team Rocket out of Dodge for good, or at least until the next time we load up a Gen 1 or 3 game. After defeating Giovanni, we go across town to have a go at Sabrina, and predictably, she's a one-shot sweep with Shadow Ball. Speaking of one-shot sweeps with Shadow Ball, we go back to Viridian City, and Giovanni once again goes down for the last time with a one-shot sweep with Shadow Ball again. Well, that was nice and easy. Now we have another fight against him on the way out of town, though. And he too is a one-shot sweep with Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball on everything but the Pidgeot, that is. We did land a critical hit on the Gyarados, which may not have been a one-shot, thanks to the Intimidate, but I'm not going to argue with it. You know what? We'll take it. In any case, we uneventfully make our way through Victory Road, and it's time to take on the Elite Four. Here's our stats at level 77. Our attack is really good, and our speed isn't half bad either. Let's do this. Lorelei's up first, and our only danger here is the Lapras hitting us with Confuse Ray. If we hit ourselves in Confusion, we're going to lose the fight. So we have to get lucky, but fortunately all of our rolls land in our favor, and we're able to Shadow Ball or return our way through her entire team without much incident, though we did have to make a few attempts at it. Unlike Lorelei though, Bruno is a first attempt sweep. We do have some issues with his 2 Onyx requiring a few hits overall, but we don't really have a lot of trouble here either. Fortunately his Machamp misses its rock throw, but 2 up and 2 down. But the easy free ride comes to a grinding halt against Agatha. Her Golbat has Bite and Air Cutter, though it does favor the latter. And since we're weak to flying and dark, we faint every time we get to it. Arbok is also not a guaranteed one-shot, and it does no bite as well, although it usually favors Sludge Bomb or Iron Tail, which can't hit us. What we need is a critical hit on the Golbat. And after more attempts than I care to count, we finally get a run where Golbat actually misses its Air Cutter, only a 5% chance of that. And after that, we land our Shadow Ball. Agatha heals it up with a full restore for a few turns, before we finally bring it down with the critical hit we needed all along. Though once she started potion stalling, I didn't need the critical hit, as I was guaranteed to get my 2 shots in a row to finish it. Last out is her Haunter, but it goes down to Shadow Ball, and now we're on to Lance. How to train your Elite Four champion is next, and oh crap. Well, Gyarados doesn't cooperate most of the time, and when it does and we can get to Aerodactyl, we lose immediately because it outspeeds us and hits us with Ancient Power. Oh boy, well this is interesting. I guess we're gonna have to grind. I can't outspeed Aerodactyl otherwise. Oh boy. So before the grind at the end of the game, I decided to go back and get the Quick Claw out of the Safari Zone. It's a held item that'll give me a 20% chance to attack first. I may need it for the Aerodactyl, I'm not sure yet. It doesn't really solve our issues though, I'm pretty sure we're not going to one-shot it, so we need to grind. Once I grind for a bit and use some rare candies, I decide to bite the bullet and just go to level 100. And even at level 100, when we get back to Lance, he takes a fair number of attempts. Gyarados can bite us, which ends the attempt, but most of the time we get past it since it likes to use Twister. At level 100, Aerodactyl is now a one-shot with Shadow Ball, and out next is Dragonite. Unfortunately, it's not a one-shot, and it knows Wing Attack, so we just have to make attempt after attempt until we can get a critical hit. Or, for some reason, the AI can go for Outrage, which we're immune to. I have no idea why it didn't go for Wing Attack on this run, but I'll take it. From there, his Dragonairs can't hurt us, and we get the win. With that, we have just one final battle left between Victory and us. Let's see if we can do it. And predictably, our final fight against Tim is not an easy one. He has several Pokemon that can do us in, and we have to rely on some good luck to get through his. It takes many, many tries. Finally, I get this run. Pidgeot is out first and goes down to a single return. Rhydon is next and goes down to a critical hit Shadow Ball. Gyarados comes out next, and despite having Bite that can end us, it tries for a Hydro Pump that we're immune to and goes down in 2 returns. Charizard is next, and we hit hard with a Shadow Ball as it misses Fire Spin and heals a bit with a Berry. We then bring it down with a second Shadow Ball. And from there, it's a one-shot sweep with his Alakazam and Exeggutor going down quickly. And boom, there we go. We just won the run. The credits roll and we get Shedinja into the Hall of Fame. And there you go, folks, that's the run. Thanks again for watching, I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or in the Discord server at the link below. I don't know what my next run's going to be, but I'm looking forward to seeing your suggestions anyway. I really hope you enjoyed the run, and again, until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and go catch 'em all.